Hello and welcome to our session today, Empower Learners with Choice. We're going to focus on designing engaging experiences with PlayPosit. So thanks for taking the time to be with us today. I have a quick tech check for us before we get rolling, just things to make our webinar more smooth. So if you want to check out recordings once the session is done, you can access them at the wevideo.com/resource center. If you do encounter technical difficulties, you can go ahead and try refreshing your browser. Often that helps. And then closing any unnecessary tabs can also assist with that playback. Also, make sure your volume's up so you can hear everything. And if you need help or have questions during our session, you can add questions into our audience chat as well as the Q&A. And I have team members here ready and able to help support those resources. Please do use the chat and Q&A as we go through. I think that's really helpful just to make this completely useful to you and worth your time that you're taking out of your day. I'll introduce myself too before we get rolling. I'm Stephanie Gates. I'm a customer success manager at WeVideo and predominantly support PlayPosit customers. And if you have any questions following our session today, please feel free to reach out to me. It's Stephanie@wevideo.com. Over our session, we'll start with a PlayPosit overview in case you're new to the tool, and then we'll dive into the main part, which is going to be empowering learners with choice. I'm going to give you some examples and ways that you can build in choice into PlayPosit. And I'll also take you behind the scenes and show you how that's done. We have lots of resources to give you as well before we end our time here today. So let's start with that quick PlayPosit overview. I think the easiest way to explain PlayPosit is an interactive video platform. So you take video like existing in maybe Vimeo, YouTube, or another video hosting platform that you use. Sometimes that's Kaltura, Panopto. There's a number of other ones, but you're streaming that video through PlayPosit and layering on questions, resources, and ways to make that video expand out of that passive video watching experience and into a really engaging lesson that they're going to take away from. And you'll get to benefit from the data and analytics that come from that engaging experience. I'm seeing a lot of people not able to hear, hoping we're all set. Maybe my team can just confirm. Okay. Perfect. Thanks, Caroline. I appreciate you. All right, and there's a few applications in PlayPosit. So what we're going to spend time talking about today is the self-paced bulb. So when learners are engaging with interactive videos on their own time, ways that you can provide them with choices throughout that asynchronous activity. There are a lot of other applications you can benefit from as well. Like we have learner-made bulbs in which you're giving learners the driver's seat into being able to create that interactive video. Maybe it's for a skills demonstration, or maybe it's for analyzing a video and demonstrating their understanding. Also, we have playlists. I love playlists. They're like a really effective container for delivering multiple interactive videos or bulbs, as well as other resources like websites, your handouts, or PDFs. But you can pull all that together in a really curated way, and you can include certificates and micro-credentials as well. The final application in PlayPosit is live broadcast. So you can take that interactive video and actually deploy it in real time with your learners. So maybe that's in the brick and mortar classroom setting. Maybe that's over a web conferencing system, but you're viewing that great interactive video together, and on their own device, they're engaging with the questions. So it's really helpful for those learners that are maybe a little more hesitant, to speak out. It's getting everybody on the same page, actively engaging with that material. So again, we're going to talk about that self-paced bulb or interactive video and ways to integrate choices throughout that experience. And then people always ask, like, why is this so beneficial? One, you're going to increase accountability, right? Easily from going from that passive video watching to that active learning and asking engaging questions along the way. But also, it really improves that retention. So they're not going to just be checking out on that video or your lecture that you recorded or whatever that material is. They're going to be taking away a lot more, and you can personalize the learning, which is really where our session comes in today. So we're going to be building in opportunities for choice, right? And the reason why we would want to do that is because it's going to foster learner autonomy and motivation. It's going to increase learner engagement. And that helps to deepen those learning experiences and better those outcomes as well. So there are 3 ways that I'm going to go over today that you can add in these opportunities for choice. One is the pacing of the content. There are some really simple ways to do this, and then some really neat ways that I'm going to teach as well. You can also include opportunities for learners to select topics that they want to learn in, and then resources as well. So there's 3 ways, and each of those we have a few tactics. So we're talking about pace, right? Pace is really important because learners obviously learn at different paces, but it also gives them the opportunity to pause and digest that material. So in PlayPosit, as from the instructor creating this content, you have the ability to allow fast forwarding and rewinding of that material if you want to. You can also allow for increasing of the playback speed, right? A little bit different from fast forwarding. So they can watch it at, like, say 1.5 or 2 times the speed. I'm a big fan of that, like, especially on my podcasts. I think we listen a lot faster than people talk. So that's a nice tool to have at your disposal. Beyond that, though, kind of the typical ways to pace video, you can add in these really strategic ways for learners to identify what pace they want to go. For example, you can see on here, this is an interaction at the beginning of a bulb that pauses learners in that video and has them first kind of like self-reflect on what their previous level of understanding is, and then making that choice of what complexity of material they want to dive into. So they get this question, and you could change this question, but here's just an example. Like, would you like to jump to advanced content or review the foundational information? So they can make that decision. Okay, yeah, maybe I just do need that refresher. I'm just going to review foundational information. Or, yeah, let's go ahead and skip ahead. I already spent half an hour on that review previously, so I'm not going to waste my time on that. Depending on the option that they select, then they'll get placed at that appropriate time of this lesson. Another way is that topic. So imagine you're the learner and you get into this activity. Your instructor's gone a step ahead here, a step above, let's say, and they have given you opportunities to choose maybe the application that they're going to study of the material, or examples, maybe their scenarios or methods of this content, right? As long as we're asking them to all meet the same learning objective, it means a lot for a learner to be able to make selections of maybe what they're most interested in, what applies to them the most, or just something that fits their learning needs the best, or maybe a knowledge gap that they have that they know they have, right? They can kind of dive into that speaks most to them. In this example that you're seeing here, this is a preliminary question in an interactive video that has learners choose the topic that they want to review for an upcoming assessment. So this has a few different topics built into that one bulb, and then depending on the option they choose, they get to jump to that pertaining video. And then finally, we can build in opportunities for them to choose resources that apply to them. So resources in PlayPosit, like you have no shortage of ways that you can kind of sneak these in and embed them within this video and lesson. You can pull in websites and embed them. You can add PDFs. You can have links. You can have attachments. You can have those right here in the middle of the interaction, or you can even hide them in the feedback that comes after they make a selection. So you can really strategically place these resources. We're not forcing them, right, to engage with these resources. These are choices that we give them along the way that can enhance their learning journey. So I'm going to go into my PlayPosit account and show a little bit behind the scenes of how each of these can be built out. I'm going to build 2 bulbs during this demonstration. I'm not going to go to any learning management system for this flow. Just going to jump into that nitty-gritty of bulb building. But know that if you're an institution that's using learning management system, you always want to start there as your kind of entry point into the platform, because that authenticates you into your account most seamlessly, I would say. So that could be Canvas or Brightspace or whatever your institution's using. And then we're going to get into our account and add new bulb. And I welcome you to do this along with me so that you can kind of feel what it's like to build out each of these kinds of scenarios. So here I am in my PlayPosit account, and I'm going to add a new bulb to talk about pacing first. And in this pacing example, let's say I am teaching, elementary school mathematics, because this is where my roots go back, and I'm going to be doing a lesson on division. So I'm just going to pull in a YouTube video on, I don't know if anyone's heard of Math Antics, but we've got some great division videos in Math Antics. So I'm going to select that video host first that I want to use. And then I can search for that video if it's public. I can also paste the URL if I have it handy, or if it's an unlisted video. That'll be the route I want to go. So now that I have this selected, I can hit done. You could also hit customize and adjust the captions that come along with this video, or I can trim and crop it down to just those segments that I want to show up for learners. All right, so I have this video in and ready. And this video goes through a few different examples of division for my learners. And so there's going to be kind of like an intro and review, and then it's going to get a little bit more complex. So I'm going to give them that question at the very beginning of, do they want to spend time on reviewing? Right? I know we went over it in class together, but maybe they need a double dose of that information. So I'm going to give them that opportunity. So right in that beginning of the video, I'm going to hit add interaction. And when you're giving these kinds of questions that don't have a correct answer, right? It's just based on their choice. We want to use a poll interaction because all of the answer options can be correct in this case. So I'm going to put my question at the very top. Maybe they want to review foundational information. Maybe they want to jump ahead to the advanced content. You could even, this is pretty like one or the other, but you can give levels in between. Maybe it's beginner, intermediate, advanced. You can get the gist there. And then we'll put in those answer options below. So you can give them the option to review or jump ahead. If it's review, I'm not going to be doing any jumping, right? They're just going to move forward into that review section. If they are going to select jump ahead, I'm going to take a next step here to make sure that answer is programmed to move them forward. And to do that, I select the settings wheel to the right of that answer option and then add jump. Then I determine what point of this video would be the appropriate place to kind of drop them off at. I'm just going to make up a timestamp here. We want to move them to this, 4-ish minute mark and then hit done. So you'll be able to see exactly where they end up. So once they hit jump ahead and then continue, this is where they're going to land. So that's a really simple way to build in those choices of pace. Another way would just be to enable the fast forwarding, rewinding, or playback speed. And all of those settings can be found in the review tab on the top right. So if you go to the playback options, this is where you can set up those settings. So rewinding, fast forwarding, and then also the playback speed. I don't know if I mentioned, in PlayPosit, learners can always decrease their playback speed, but you have to select this in order for them to be able to increase that playback speed. And then we'll save those changes. So again, that's just our way to add in some pacing options. Let's talk about how to build in options for choosing topic and resources. I'm going to do this one all in the same bulb. So I'm going to use some YouTube videos again. Let's say this time I'm teaching biology and we're getting ready for that like end of unit assessment. And so this is going to be a review activity for them. So in this case, I'm going to pull in 3 different videos. You don't necessarily have to do this. If you have one video that has multiple topics in it, you could just use that one video. But in this case, I'm just going to give 3 videos all together in the same bulb. So here's my first one. These are all from Crash Course, which is great. And then you add video again and go through that same procedure. And last one. All right, so I have 3 review videos. And then, right there, so they're all like back to back. I'm going to give them a question at the very beginning that allows them to choose the video before they even get started with this lesson or the review lesson. And so right at that beginning timestamp again, I'm going to hit add interaction. And again, because I'm giving them choice and there's no correct answer here, I'm going to make this a poll question. So my poll question could be something along these lines, right? They're going to review maybe at least one of these topics. That's the requirement. And so they're going to choose the topics from below that they want to review. And then I also like pairing choice with some accountability, right? We can give choices, but still hold them highly accountable. I think those are both really important to balance. So at the very end of this activity, I am going to give them the opportunity to submit a response of some kind. Like they're going to tell me which one they reviewed and a takeaway perhaps. So first I'm going to put in all my topics that they can choose from. Here we go. And then I'm going to program in those time frames that they're going to jump to for each of these choices. Since my first video is that introduction to biology, I actually don't have to jump them anywhere. They're just going to play on. And if they want to move into the scientific method, right, I'm going to have to kind of figure out where does this video change over. I think it's about, if I remember correctly, about here. So one thing you can do is, like, if you have a really great memory, you can just remember what this timestamp is. I'm not one of those people. So what I use as my little hack is I click this timestamp to copy it. And then the answer that corresponds with that, I go to add jump. I can just paste it into this little line. So that's where they're going to jump to. And I can do the same thing for that next video clip. So maybe it transitions right about here, let's say. I'm going to copy that in and paste it in. So now if they hit Intro to Biology, it plays on. Scientific method, they jump ahead. What biologists do, they jump even farther ahead to that third clip. Okay. Yeah, and at the end, I would add a question in, right? Like, what topic did you select? And maybe like summarize one thing that you learned from that. Or maybe you can add in a discussion and have them talk through what their favorite segment was. You can kind of get creative with what you want that checkpoint to be, but don't forget to put in some sort of question there that you want them to answer for. So that's how we can build in some topic choice. You can also build in choices of resources, and there's two ways that you can do this. Like either you can pull resources into interactions, or you can build them into the feedback that they get based on their answer selection. So for example, maybe during one of these video clips, I have some great resources that I want to trickle in. Maybe it's for the scientific method video. I want to give them maybe like another website they could look into or an article that was really great. So let's find that location where that might fit. Maybe about here. You're in the scientific method section. At this point, I want to kind of weave in these resources that are going to just enrich the learning content. In this one, I could add in those resources as a pause interaction if I don't want them to have to submit any response. I could add them in as a poll and they can just like pick and choose which resource they want to engage with. There's a lot of different ways that we can kind of set this up. I even see people do this in like a free response format where they pull together the choices and accountability all in one. For example, maybe we do something along the lines of, now that you've gotten to review the video, you can check out this other article, or I'm also going to pair this with an article that overlays the video. So they can either click on this link, which takes them to one website, or I'm going to, so I'm going to have this question pop up in the left-hand side and maybe an article pop up on the right-hand side. That could be an approach. And this is how I would do that. So at the same time, you can hit add interaction to group. And this resource I happen to have as a PDF. I'm just going to select that PDF that I want for my computer. I think I had that somewhere. I'm going to, well, let's do a different way. I'm going to see if I can grab that. No, you know what? We're going to just say we have that PDF on the right-hand side. Sorry, you couldn't locate that easily. Then we have our interaction on the left-hand side. So again, we can pull the resources into the interactions themselves. We can also put them into the feedback. So if we wanted to have like a multiple choice question, for example, we have our question at the top, we have our answer options below. And maybe, like this is the correct answer and 1 and 3 are incorrect. We could put in our resources into those incorrect answers so that they're not getting what they need from the video itself. It gives them a next step for their learning, right? Like maybe they just don't engage with videos that well. Maybe they have an easier time with reading articles, or you have a great handout that lends itself nicely to this topic. Whatever that might be. When you add feedback, you get this rich content editor line with ways to attach files. You can record yourself. You can pull in images or infographics, and you can also I was just showing somebody this today, actually. You could even embed another video within their feedback if you want to. You just grab that little embed code and drop it in here, and it gives them like a next step video to watch. All right. Again, once we go to review, then you can decide the pacing that you want your learners to be able to choose from. Maybe it's fast forwarding or rewinding that you want them to be able to do. And that playback speed. And we'll save those changes. And once your learners start engaging with that activity, you're going to be able to see, what kind of questions they're answering. You'll be able to see what topics they're selecting from. It'll give you information, a little bit of insight into what choices they're making. So if you're not familiar with the monitor page, this is a really great place to be able to get some next steps for your own instruction, right? Like, what are learners performing really well in? What do they maybe need a little bit of reteaching with? I especially love this bulb analytics view because it gives you trends over this whole bulb. So you can see, like, wow, question number 4 here was one we didn't do so great on. So I'm going to make sure to dig into this a little bit more on our next live time. All right, let's talk about some resources and we'll go over any questions that I haven't been seeing in the chat so far. So in our customer resource page, we have lots of things available that fit a variety of learning needs. So we have our PlayPosit Academy, which are self-paced video tutorials. We have webinars, of course, like this one today, and use case library. You can check out all different kinds of examples. And then we have help articles that are specific to learning management systems, ways of using PlayPosit, advanced settings. So there's a wealth of knowledge in there, and you can just kind of search by keyword. And we have office hours twice a week. And we even have one today following this session, which will be at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific, depending on where you are. And so if you have questions, like, one of our team members will be in there just waiting to help you out. So we encourage you to take advantage of that resources as well. All right, let's take a look at some questions in here. And Madison, feel free to point any out that I might miss in here as well. Let's see. When a learner selects the first video, how does PlayPosit know to stop at the end of that video and not move on to the second one? Oh, good question, Holly. That is something that you can configure, and I can backtrack just a second and show you what that looks like. Let's see if I have one of my examples I can dive into. You're right, because if they select the first one, then they will just move into that second clip if you don't take any other further actions. So once they get to that second clip, they could jump ahead if you have that fast forwarding enabled and just be done. Or something else that you can do if you want to make it a little more automated is that if they get to a certain timestamp, so like maybe right before they get into that scientific method portion, right? If they selected introduction to biology, before they get to scientific method, you can actually add what's called an auto jump at this period of time, so that once they get to this location, they can jump to the very end, like maybe right where you posed that, that question that you want everyone to engage with after they've made their selection of what video they want to learn about. So I can say, oh, I'm going to jump them right to here before I ask that final question. All right, did I miss any other ones? I think I got them all. If you have a question, go ahead and put it into the chat or into the QA. Otherwise, thank you guys for taking the time to be here today. And feel free to join us in a couple weeks when we have our session on learner made bulbs. Yeah, so thank you, Leslie. Can we review how you configured that final question? Are you talking about like like an assessment question at the end? I'm thinking that's what we're asking about. And Brad, yes, we can definitely share the link to that PlayPosit Creator course, level 1. And we're rolling out level 2 as we speak, and it's almost fully complete. So we can put the links in into the chat there for you. Maybe Madison can help out with that one. Okay, so this one here, this now that you've reviewed your crash course scientific method. Yeah, so for this question, what I did is I used a free response. So if you want your learners to actually answer a question that you're putting resources to, you can weave it into really any question. Your multiple choice, check all, like any of those, because they have that rich text editor bar, you have all the options of how to link and attach and embed things. So this is just one example where you can pull resources into the actual question itself and still have them answer right there. Great. Thanks, Madison, for getting that PlayPosit Creator course link in. PlayPosit Creator courses, if you're not familiar with what we're talking about, is let me see if I can grab a view of that. It's a set of 3 modules that goes into various topics and strategies of how to use PlayPosit. So we have a PlayPosit Creator Level 1 course, which goes into question sets, so how to build out question sets, how to incorporate opportunities for peer learning, aka discussions in PlayPosit, and then weaving in resources into your video. So it's a really great way to kind of go through, and it actually lets you practice and get a certificate from the full course. And then level 2 is really great because it talks about all kinds of way to personalize learning. So it goes into adding in choices, it goes into adaptive learning as well based on the learner response. And then finally, how to incorporate automated, customizable feedback as well. So feel free to check those out. And thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.